In this video, we are going to compare multiple employers in one view and help candidates prepare top list to target. Now, whose job is it? A recruiter or a staffer is the one executing this use case. This is part of a series of 6 use cases where we showcase how recruiters are using Symmetrics to add value to their existing processes, workflows, and increasing their network in the market. So we're going to go into the comparative analysis. Before we jump into the exact details, let's take a quick overview of the Symmetrics platform. It's a unique HR tech and analytics platform unifying job seekers, recruiters, and employers. Brings harmony between the three roles involved in a job process, which is candidates who are job seeking, recruiters and staffers who are matching the job, and then employers who are ultimately the providers of the job. It's trying to bring more harmony in the entire process and make the experience a bit more harmonious. Symmetrics is a benchmarking platform with trustworthy benchmark analytics for candidates, recruiters, and employers, helps accelerate talent access and mobility, and integrates with course providers, assessment platforms, and job boards while helping making career choices. Feel free to go ahead and register your free account at symmetrics.fyi. All the information is also there on the website. And for any other inquiries, feel free to write an email to hello@symmetrics.fyi. Okay, with that said, let's take a quick look of how the reports or the analytics are organized. This is one form of view. Obviously, there could be multiple views, which we have documented on the website. The analytics are organized into various categories: informational, what if, goal based, industry, job, family, miscellaneous, and under those there are subcategories which are employer, job title, state, city, and so on and so forth. Each provides valuable information depending on the use case. Okay, that said, let's get back to our use case, which is how is a staffing company helping compare multiple employers in one view and helping a job seeker or a candidate prepare the top list to target. In this case, the candidate who approached the staffing company um, was looking at 4 employers, and he or she wasn't able to make a clear decision, and hence the staffing company helped them out. How did they do it? Let's take a look. So by in this case, the candidate was looking at 4 different employers: Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon, right? Okay. So the recruiter quickly enters all of the employers that the candidate is looking at and applies all the filters. And here they are. Now, first thing what you can look at is top states where the employer hires. Now, this is not necessarily by employer, so for now this is not very useful, but keep going down and you can see what is the distribution of the lower end of the wage for each of the companies. As you can hover on top of it, you can start seeing who pays. As you can see, the orange, Facebook, is probably paying higher on the lower end of the wage, highest relatively, and also Facebook, as you can see, on the upper end as well. Now, but that doesn't mean necessarily that it would apply for the candidate's use case. But in general, at this point, by looking at just these two graphs, if the candidate is interested in only the wage, Facebook seems to be the most attractive option at this time. In terms of the total number of job titles, each of these companies is a massive company, so they hire a lot. As you can see, the numbers depict here. They also hire across various states and cities and so on and so forth. In terms of the wage trend, we know that it generally keeps increasing, and that's what this trend shows here. This job title relevancy is across all companies, but then what one can do is quickly start removing one by one the company names and see which company hires the most. In this case, the candidate was a software development engineer, and he wanted to find out which company is the most attractive. So first you could the recruiter first adds all of these companies and can start looking, analyzing, and then as we see in a subsequent step, you can start removing one by one the employers and start seeing. Now, in terms of the top states, as you can see, uh, the average wage on the lower end, the upper end, and the prevailing wage are provided here. Now, if you quickly glance through all of these things, now the candidate was living in Washington, so let's just filter out on the Washington state only. So as you can see, in the Washington state, Apple is paying about 183K, Facebook is 186K, Amazon 214 crores. So clearly, Amazon .com services stands out if wage is the only criteria that matters, right? Now, in terms of top cities, you could further go ahead and since it is Washington state, let's go ahead and search for. Yeah, these are cities, so we can just search for Seattle, and you can see what are the pay scales in Seattle. You can see for Bellevue, right, and so on and so forth. So now you're kind of narrowing down all of the numbers if wage is your only criteria. As you keep going down, as you search for Washington state, you can further compare all of the states in Washington across each of the companies, right? Amazon.com services. Now let's see. Yeah, here you go. Apple in Seattle pays about 182, Facebook in Waltham pays about 175, and so on and so forth. So as you slowly start ranking the employers in terms of the pay. This becomes clear if your goal is the wage, then you should obviously look for the employer that pays the most. Now, if your goal is not just the wage but more, then you could also start looking for other values. Now you've analyzed all of these things with all the employees put together, but the recruiter instead would like to do one by one. So take out each of these, and you can start analyzing each company, right, in terms of what is the salary, what are the top job titles. In this case, as you can see, Apple hires software development engineer quite a bit, so good to go for the candidate. Let's see Google. Right, Google also hires software engineer quite a bit, which kind of falls under the software development as well. You can start seeing Facebook. The Facebook also hires quite a bit of software engineers and so on and so forth, right? So what you were able the recruiter was able to help the candidate make a decision in terms of the four companies that he or she came up with, and was able to narrow down and provide a clear recommended guidance of which company to go for as in the software development position, because the goal of the engineer was to make as much highest wage as possible. Um, Now, there is the approval KPI, which provides the count of the number of jobs, which you can go ahead and see here. The total cities, how many were hired in each of the cities, and so on and so forth. So if you combine the wage data with the number of jobs, you always want to look for the highest wage and the maximum number of jobs, and that's the most optimal strategy that the recruiter recommended the candidate, and the candidate ended up in Facebook. So that's how you can use the Symmetrics platform to get clarity as you start looking for your next job, or you're looking to move within the same city or employer or state, and so on and so forth. Thank you.